धन्यवाद आपका जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री गदाधर आदि गौर भक्तवृंद।
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे हरे।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
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 भगवते
भगवते
वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो
भगवते
भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम
ओम
नमो
नमो
भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.50. Panchabi kurute Spartan.
पंचभी
भगवते
कुरुते स्वाहा।
सुल्तान
Panchavedatha Panchabi.
पांच
पंचवे
विधाता
पंचभी
Ekastu Sodasena.
एकस्तु
Swayam Saptadaso Asnute.
स्वयं सप्तदशो अस्नुते।
Like to read Prabhu? Prabhu?
I read for you. You give the commentary on that. Hare Krishna. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. Path ki jai. Translation. About the five senses of perception, the five working senses, and the five objects of the senses is the mind, which is the sixth element. Of the mind is the seventh element, the soul. The living being himself, who is cooperation with the other 16, enjoys the material world alone. The living being enjoys three kinds of situation, namely happy, distressful, and mixed. Purport. Just a minute. Everyone engages in work with his hands, legs, and other senses, just to achieve a certain goal according to the concocted ideas. This tries to enjoy the five senses object, namely form, sound, taste, aroma, and touch, not knowing the actual goal of life, which is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. Because of disobeying the Supreme Lord, one is put into the material condition, and he then tries to improve his situation in the concocted way, not desiring to follow the instruction of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nevertheless, the Supreme Lord is so kind that he comes himself to instruct the bewildered living entity how to act obediently and then gradually return home back to Godhead, where he can attain an eternal, peaceful life of bliss and knowledge. The living entity has a body, which is a very complicated combination of the material elements. And with this body, he struggles alone, as indicated in this verse by the word ekastu. For example, if one is struggling in the ocean, he must swim through it alone. Although many other men and aquatics are swimming in the ocean, he must take care of himself because no one else will help. Therefore, the verse indicates that the 17th item, the soul, must work alone. Although he tries to create society, friendship, and love, no one will be able to help him but Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his only concern should be how to satisfy Krishna. That is also what Krishna wants. Sarvdham Pratyanji, Mam Ekam Sarvam Varaj. People bewildered by material conditions try to be united, but although they strive for unity among men and nations, all their attempts are futile. Everyone must struggle alone for existence of the many elements of nature. Therefore, one only hopes, as Krishna advises, is to surrender to him, for he can help one become free from the ocean of essence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore prayed, Ayo Nand Tanuje Kanikaram Patitam Mam Visam Bhavam Buddho Kripai Tave Pada Pankaya Sthite Doi Sudasam Vichinte. O Krishna, beloved Sivanand Maharaj, I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of design. And although I am struggling very hard, in no way I can save myself if you kindly pick me up. That's it. Up and fix me as one of the particles of dust at your lotus feet. That will save me. In a similar way, Bhaktivedanta Thakur sang, Anandi Karma Pade, Pade Bhava Bhavanam Jale, Tirvare Nam Dekhi Pai. My dear Lord, I cannot remember when I somehow or other fell into this ocean of essence, and now I can find no way to rescue myself. We should remember that everyone is responsible for his own life. If an individual becomes a pure devotee of Krishna, he is then delivered from the ocean of essence. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Krishna Prabhu. Please go ahead and you can
Hey, you give your
explain
comment,
about
Prabhu.
them. Anandram Prabhu, you'd like to? Okay. So I think we've been reading the conversations between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, and they've been asking the Vishnudutas had asked the Yamadutas about uh, how a human being should act, and then they're explaining here. So the five senses of perception and the five working senses. So the soul, along with the mind, which is subconscious, and the five working senses and sense of perception and object, senses of object, tries to enjoy the material world all alone. And since the living being enjoys three kinds of situations, namely happy, distressful, and mixed. And everybody engages in work with his hands. So then here again it's important that everybody engages with work. And we've seen in the Bhagavad Gita that being born in this material world, that one has to act. One cannot remain even a moment without acting. And so, with the hands and legs and other senses, to achieve a certain goal, one acts. And one tries to enjoy the five sense objects without knowing the actual goal of life, which is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. Because disobeying the Lord, one is put into material conditions, and then he tries to improve the situation in a concordant way, not desiring to follow instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nevertheless, the Lord has come himself and he has instructed the bewildered living entity repeatedly on how to come back home, back to Godhead, where he can attain an eternal, peaceful, blissful life full of knowledge. The living entity has a body which is very complicated, and with this body he struggles alone. And this is very important here, that is written here, Ekastu. So then struggles alone. So one is struggling in the ocean of nescience, and he must swim through it alone. And this is where that one first tries to swim through it by social conditions, by other conditions, looking for answers here and there, and one is always bewildered. And this material world is is a lot of bewilderment, and one gets bewildered wherever one turns. And this is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, abandon all forms of religion and surrender unto me. And that is like complete surrender. And because nobody else can help us, and Krishna is the only one who can help us. And so therefore, the only concern for the living entity should be how to satisfy Krishna. Further, Prabhupada quotes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's verse where he says, I'm an eternal servant, but somehow or the other, I have fallen into this ocean of nescience. And I'm struggling very hard, and there's no way I can save myself. Fix me up to be one of the particles of dust at your lotus feet. So that is something that we have to imbibe in terms of humility, where we have to be a servant of the servant of the servant, and where today in material world we get puffed up being that this is mine and I own this. Because of this, I am in a puffed up condition, which I am even lord over material nature, where one should be humbler than a blade of grass, and that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us. And it is only in that mood one can surrender to the Lord. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to surrender. So, although we keep reading Sarvadharman Parityaja Mekam Saranam Bhaja, it is something that is very difficult for us to do. And one can reach that mood or that condition only when one becomes humbler than a blade of grass. And Prabhupada finally writes that from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I cannot remember again how I fell into this ocean of nescience. Now, we know that we have multiple births. We were existing before and we will exist after. And he here says, I do not know how I fell into this ocean of nescience, and I can find no way to rescue myself. So then again, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that I can find no way to rescue myself, what then is our position? For sure, we cannot rescue ourselves. And when we realize how big the ocean is and how lost we are, it's at that point that we should cry out to Krishna and say that I surrender to you, please rescue me. And if an individual becomes a pure devotee, he is then delivered from the ocean of nescience. Hare Krishna. Would somebody else like to add to that, please?
Hare Krishna. Dandot Prabhu. Thank you so much for a very beautiful explanation. One line which is catching my attention again and again here is like one place, like Krishna is very kind, that is there, that is being highlighted. And then here it is also said at the same time that living entity is trying to do all its combination to not follow the instructions. Okay, there's a continuous disobedience from our side. Actually, this is our nature, and that's the reason we have to understand that we are here. The only and only nature, only reason that we are still in this material world is because first step is we are not surrendered, and that surrendering is not coming is because of our disobedience, and because of our disobedience we are in this world, not desiring to follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality. There is this continuous desire not to follow the instructions. If you like, so one is not having desire, at the same time another is not able to follow. Sometimes desire is there and we are not able to follow. But root cause, if we analyze our own self, we need not point each other, but if we try to contemplate and be genuine to our own self, not cheat to our own self, we'll find that yes, this is the main reason. Our own desire not to follow the instruction, the disobedience nature is there. So if we are able to get rid of this disobedience nature, then comes our next stage. All instructions are there, all guidance is there, but then again here it is highlighted, if one is struggling in the ocean, he must swim through it alone. So yes, Srila Prabhupada's teachings are there, and then a group of devotees are like-minded devotees will be there, will trying to follow the instructions. But then again, all this association, but for this is just we can say the arrangement or help which is required, or the knowledge which is there, to just so that we can swim through this material ocean alone. of course, without the causeless of mercy, it is not possible. I was recollecting many times, Prabhuji quotes this initial sessions. Prabhuji used to say about this. Everyone has to fly their own plane. I just put it on the Srimad Bhagavatam group. So this in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 15th shloka, 15th chapter and 50th shloka. When flying an aeroplane, one cannot take care of other planes. Everyone has to take care of his own plane. And if there is any danger, no other plane can help another in that condition. Similarly, at the end of life, one has to go back home, back to Godhead. Everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. The help is, however, offered on the ground before flying in space. Similarly, the spiritual master, the father, the mother, the relatives, the husband, and others can all render help during one's lifetime. But while crossing the sea, one has to take care of himself and utilize the instructions formally received. So there may be a phase in our life that only and only instructions will be there. Yeah, if you see, the fact is also there. All these societies also will not be able to help. So this is actually a very grim and grave thing. We are thinking we are enjoying or we are so fortunate, but even the company which we are having may last for some time and may not last compared to the eternal time zone. The time in which we will be spending time together may be very fraction of the time. So unless we understand the situation is so dire circumstance, and if you think that okay, we have a lot of time, it may take so much. Krishna conscious may take so many births. True, Krishna conscious may for some take a lot of time and may take many births also. True, but then still the sense of urgency is required. We need to have that sense of urgency in us. We need to balance both. We need to understand that, of course, we need to put the best efforts from our side. And what is our best efforts? Is to try our best to follow the instructions of the acharyas in our Guru Parampara, and definitely wait for the causeless mercy that will there. So both utsaha and dhairya, both are very important. So even the good times of the association will also pass. So at that time only we will be left with the whatever the teachings are there, whatever we discussed, and whatever thoughts we could cherish. All those things will be there, and we may have to continue the journey with that. So, like 2-3 places, the uncertainty is being stressed. So that is catching my attention. But at the same time, yes, Krishna is very merciful. We should always remember Krishna is merciful. The spiritual master is merciful. There will be always hope, even in the uncertain situations. Hare Krishna. Thank you, all the devotees.
Thank you, Prabhu. Read the next verse, 6.151. Tad etad sodasa kanam lingam shakti trayam mahat.
Tatetat Sulasa Kalam Lingam Sakti Trayam Mahat.
Lingam Shakti Trayam Mahat.
Tate anusam pumshi harsha shoka bayat nigam.
Bayatidam.
Nusam
Tate
Sarita
Anusham Smritim Pumsi Harsha Shoka Bayatidam.
Nayatidam.
Somebody like to read that, please?
Yeah. Should I read, Prabhu?
Please, Prabhu.
Translation. The subtle body is endowed with 16 parts: the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 working senses, the 5 objects of sense gratification, and the mind. This subtle body is an effect of the 3 modes of material nature. It is composed of insurmountably strong desires, and therefore it causes the living entity to transmigrate from one body to another in human life, animal life, and life as a demigod. When the living entity gets the body of a demigod, he's certainly very jubilant. When he gets a human body, he's always in lamentation. And when he gets the body of an animal, he's always afraid. In all conditions, however, he's actually miserable. His miserable condition is called samsriti, samsriti or transmigration in material life, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The sum and the substance of material condition life is explained in this verse. The living entity, the 17th element, is struggling alone, life after life. This struggle is called samsriti, samsriti or material conditional life. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the force of material nature is insurmountably strong. Daivi hai esha gunamayi, mama maya duratyat. Material nature harasses the living entity in different bodies. But if the living entity surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes free from this entanglement, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mama eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. Thus, his life becomes successful. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross it. Devi Esha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratya, Mama Maya Duratya. So here, further it is talked about how the insurmountable strong desires, they are basically over many, many lifetimes, they are packaged into the subconscious mind. And that is what causes the living entity to transmigrate from one body to another, because one continues to desire for something. And as long as the strength of these desires are there, one would like migrate from body to body, human life to animal life, and life as a demigod. And basis even today's life, you can see that when we are happy, we are very happy and not caring about the second thing. But when we are sad because of certain actions that happen, then we feel like the whole world is not a nice place to live. Whereas when we're happy, we don't care and we're like carefree and we just don't think like there'll be another day. So when he gets a human body, is always in lamentation. Matras parsas to countaya. So always there is heat and cold, duality, happiness, distress. So so there is always lamentation, and because when you're happy, you're scared that the happiness is short-lived and it's going to go away, so you're fearful. And when you lament, of course, you lament that as to why is this happening to me, and why are people around me happy? So you're even more sad when people around you are happy. And when one gets the body of animal, one is always afraid. So animals have the tendency to be afraid because of um, the nature around them. They could be eaten by a more powerful animal. Even the most powerful animals are like likely to get hunted, or uh, the forces of nature could. They have to be scared of that. So in all conditions, he is actually miserable, and the miserable condition is called samsriti, or transmigration in material life. The transmigration happens in material life when one is fully surrendered or fully devoid of desires, and one then goes home back to God. Then there's no more transmigration. One is situated in eternal bliss along with the Supreme Personality of God. So one has to weigh on both sides. On one hand is eternal bliss, on the other hand is this transmigration and repeated birth and death. And if one is very happily situated, then one is not wanting to leave this place. One thinks that this place itself is a happy condition. So one has to realize that why there is always lamentation, and how is it that I can escape from this place. The struggle is called samsriti, and The Supreme Personality of Godhead says, he becomes free from entanglement when he surrenders unto me. So in the last verse, we saw that Sarva Dharman Parityaja, abandon all forms of religion and surrender unto me. And here also, Prabhupada is writing from the verse of Devi Suganamai. So this divine Mama Maya, so it's very difficult to overcome. The only way to do it is Prapadyante, surrender. So the only way to overcome this illusory energy is surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. So somebody else like that here, please.
Hare Krishna, Dandatam to all devotees. So this there to that famous story used to be there. Many of us must have come across that thing called as there's a play which some devotees must have enacted in their last many years in Krishna conscious. It's called as Charane Ka Circus. It's like you go to a circus and you can enjoy the circus in something like very small amount. I hope many of you are familiar with this play.
Not me, Prabhuji. You can explain.
No.
Okay. Ramtila Prabhu, you must have heard about that, na? Charane Ka Circus.
No, Prabhu.
Okay.
No, not really.
So this is like an allegory, okay, and a very famous allegory used to happen, coming passed down during from our acharyas. So previously in older times, this circus used to come, some exhibition or mela like that, and that was the only simple types of entertainment. They had no televisions and internet. So a very a beautiful tent is built, and then the advertisement is made that many nice arrangements are there. It's a wonderful extravaganza of entertainment, and the cost per person, the cost of the ticket of viewing the circus is very meager small amount, and that was the entry ticket was just 4 Ana. In Indian currency, it's like called 25 paise. So yeah, in other dollars, we can say like 25 cents. You can view the entire circus for a quite long time for just 25 cents or something like that. So, but there is a condition. The condition is that only one person can enter at a time. So people were okay as long as they are getting it at a very cheap price. So people were okay to go and have a nice entertaining time. So one by one, so one person is to go. The first person goes inside, and then there's pitch darkness, and he say, "Hey, what is happening?" He calls out, "Is there anything? Is the show is on or not?" And then there is some light, and then one big Herculean person comes, and then he says, "Yeah, what is your requirement? Hey, what you are asking for requirement? You said that you're going to have a nice show. You have taken charana. You have taken 25 cents from me, and oh, please keep the show on. Show me what all things you can show. Please entertain me." So he said, "Okay, so you want to get entertained? So nice." So he beats this guy back, black and blue. So after all the bashing, said, "Why are you beating me?" So he said, how come you think that you will enjoy in for a long time and with such meager money? What do you think you will be there over here? What you're paying is nothing. You're not going to get anything over here except for the beatings." So he's beaten black and blue, and then now he understands that he's fooled up. Now the problem is when he goes back out, people will ask him, "How was the show?" So he doesn't want to show that he's cheated. So he goes out. The next person asks me, "So how was it?" He says, "Oh, it's very nice. You'll really enjoy it." So I had a gala time. And so he said, you also better hurry up and have a nice time." So the next person goes on, and the same thing repeats. And again, he gets beaten up, comes out. and he again dresses him normally. Malab, he again pacify himself. Nobody is trying to tell that they are getting cheated. So this was a very allegory type of story, and at older times when we were before marriage, we used to have this place. So anybody is getting the conclusion from this story or less play? What conclusions you draw from it? So the conclusion of this play are very much to what is our situation actually. Mehrotra Prabhu, could you get the story?
I would get it.
Actually, there is nothing called a Charanaka circus. They have made a big display, and seeing the outside, everybody is thinking that they will enjoy a lot. But when you go inside, they just are getting misery, and they pay it also, pay for getting the misery, and then outside they cannot express the misery also because people will make fun of them, feeling that you are fooled. So, and they also intend that let other also enjoy it
Full.
in the same way, because now they have got cheated, so let others also get cheated. Nobody is thinking about the other also. So
Summing up with Prabhuji, is you are paying for the Dukhale, and when you paid it, you don't want to tell the other people that you've been fooled. So you want more people to come in. So after that, you become caucus. Neither you could criticize them, nor they will be able to criticize you. So
yes, Prabhu.
what you are telling is in theater. In fact, वो बत्ती वाला गेम आता है, बच्चों को बैठा देता है और दो आने में दिखाता था. आपके उसमें चार आने होते होंगे, हमारे उसमें दो आने होते.
Yeah.
In
So
English,
whatever.
this is called Emperor's New Clothes.
So
And
the whole idea is this material world is like that. This material world is dukkhalayam ashwashvatam. But we wanted to enjoy somehow or other. We wanted to enjoy. So now we are paying the price. That's saying now we have to pay through our nose. Karke. So that is what we are actually paying. And many of us are not realizing only. Many of us are not realizing, or we have become so thick-skinned that दुनिया तो ऐसे ही है, बहुत सारे ठोकरे खाना है और थोड़ा आनंद मिलेगा. You will get lot, you'll have to find lot of hardships, and then there will be little enjoyment. That is how it is. So that is how it is for everybody. So it is for me also. So these type of philosophies are there, but nobody is trying to understand that there is a way out. There is a way out, and it is being shown in the scriptures. It is being told and expounded by the acharyas, but nobody is. People want to still get the beatings, and again we want to get cheated. So really lot of determination, and well, we should have that intense desire that we need to get out of this thing. There is no enjoyment actually, and somewhere also our acharyas tell, no, like enjoyment of this material world is like enjoying the stool of a pig. So such type of comparison is made, and those who are not sober, na, they will say, "Hey, what are you saying? Why are you comparing this material world like enjoyment in material world like stool of a pig?" And really, there is enjoyment. Okay, I have my children. When they do very nice things, I get a lot of enjoyment. When my nation does very nice, so I have really enjoyment. So many things. I have good time with my friends, with my family members. So why are you telling such a nasty thing? Why do the acharyas tell such a nasty thing? Like all these enjoyments in this material world is just comparable to tasting a stool of a pig. Because pig eats thrash. So there is nothing in the stool of the pig which is useful. Maybe a stool of other animals, and of course the stool of the cow, that is cow dung, is so useful. It is used as fertilizer, but the stool of a pig is total waste, utter waste. So that is the comparison which is being made for our enjoyment in material life. We still enjoy. We still enjoy whenever a company of our family members we enjoy. We feel like at least some enjoyment is there in this material world. So we are happy. It's like those type of enjoyments are like oasis for us in this fiery desert. But then actually we are relying on this thing is itself is foolishness of us. It's a part of the parcel that we have taken, but one should not really think that life is going to be happy here. So the sooner we get this and it becomes our consciousness that there is nothing except disgust in this life, the better we'll accept Krishna consciousness. It is a simultaneous process. Utter distaste for the material world and uh, too much fond of spiritual life. Both has to happen at the same time, and that is the clear themes. That is the clear themes which is expounded in the scriptures. So, and definitely, of course, therefore, this material world is so difficult to escape. Escaping from this difficult material world is so difficult because finally it is Lord's energy, material energy, which is conceived it. So only Lord has the way out. Only a Lord can allow certain people to come out. And who are the people who can come out? Are the people who follow his instructions. Instructions directly given by him, instructions which have been retold again and again and again, day after day. It comes to our ears through the words of the acharyas and pure devotees. So the day when we accept it thoroughly from our heart, then our life becomes successful. When we start implementing in our life. And in that also there will be struggle. Well, the acharyas who are coming, they are struggling. So we will also struggle. But when we are struggling to follow the instructions and we are following it, that is success. So, but in the material life also we are struggling. So why don't we struggle to follow the instructions of the acharyas? So that should be, we should be encouraging each other. Thank you already, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. I think it's almost 10 o'clock, so we can stop today. We'll continue again tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So, Prabhuji, we'll keep it as a norm, like we'll wait up to 9:10, something like that. If Madhusudhan
Sure,
Prabhu is unable to join for some due reason, so we can start at least by 9:10.
Sure.
And if before that everybody is there, then we can start early also.
Sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, all the
Thank you.
devotees.
Dandavat
Hare
Pranam to all
Krishna.
devotees.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Jai.